What's going on, everybody? So today I'm showing you a clip from Timcast IRL featuring the amazing Brian Shapiro, Ian Crossland, Benjamin Michael, and they're debating whether or not America is a Christian nation. So I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to be reminiscent of playing chess with a pigeon. Tim and Benjamin will be the chess player, and Brian and Ian, they're going to be the pigeon. Can their unstoppable logic undo the immovable stupidity? Let's get into it.
To Christianity should be stoned to death because she's publicly proclaimed the name of Christ. Do you think that that person should be able to live in America?
I think
and gain power in America?
Okay, there's a lot of people that live in America that have some really awful beliefs. But just because you believe something doesn't mean you're going to do it.
So you think that that is compatible with American culture?
Whether somebody's compatible with American culture or not is not the point. You're asking me a question about
it is the
should
point.
You be,
That's what I'm
asking.
asking.
Should you be deported if you have a belief that you disagree with? And I say absolutely not.
Okay, well I say absolutely. I say that is incompatible with American culture. We don't stone people here in America. You can go back to Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan.
No.
We don't do that here.
Okay,
so here we don't stone people.
The act of doing it is different than believing.
Okay, but
something.
if they're admitting when we take power, we're going to do this to you, then I don't want you in my country. That should not be controversial.
To me, that's not a reasonable thing to say, that you think that just because a Muslim person might have a radical, and by the way, not all Muslims believe in that stuff, okay?
So this starts off with Brian making his first of many terrible points. So of course someone's belief system should be taken into account when deciding whether or not to let them in the country or let them run for public office. Especially with Islam. Why would it not be a good idea for our government to prevent subversives from getting into the country and voting in our elections, influencing our political system, or holding public power? I mean, that's just insane. It makes no sense. But Brian's over here simping for Islam to score points with his fellow leftists. But let me ask you this. Based on Brian's history, do you think he's going to be as charitable towards Trump supporters and Christians? Smart Money says no.
But the hadith for all Sunni Islam, Sahih hadith is authoritative to them.
I don't know. You're friends with Myron Gaines. Does he think that?
I want to read a really funny. Are you able to read that? Or is it too far away?
We need.
It might be too far away, right? Let me zoom in, make it as big as I can.
Is this? What are we talking? What is this? I might know what it is.
Where was it? I just want you to read the.
This looks
I
like
know
a
what this
hadith.
is. This is Joseph's. This is story. His story's a commentary on the amendments.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
What is it?
Just you can read that line.
Or is this one of the constitutions in the state constitution?
You just read the line.
Okay.
That as it is.
That it is the duty of every man to worship God in such a manner he thinks most acceptable to him. All persons professing the Christian religion are equally entitled to protection in their religion. This might be. Is it the Supreme Court case?
This is the Constitution, the original 1776 Constitution of Maryland, which states.
Yeah. Okay.
All those professing a Christian religion are equally entitled to protection in their liberties. The point being, it's just one example. It goes on to say general and equal text in support of the Christian religion. The original state constitutions were like they had what were they called, like faith tests or whatever.
Yeah.
In order to hold office, you had to publicly pronounce a faith in the Christian God.
Here's what I don't like.
Virginia
Well,
was
I
a-
want to read
Virginia-
one. Wait, before we move on from this, because this is so. Joseph Story was one of the. He's one of the first Supreme Court justices to give a commentary on the amendments. He was a Supreme Court justice in the early 1800s, and he gave this commentary on the First Amendment. He said the real object of the amendment was not to countenance, much less advance Islam or Judaism or infidelity by prostrating Christianity, but to exclude all rivalry among Christian sects and to prevent any national ecclesiastical establishment. So the point of the First Amendment, according to the early founding fathers, was not to allow for things like Islam that are incompatible. No, it was for Christian unity.
So I want to bring this up real quick. The claim that America wasn't founded as a Christian nation is just fundamentally incorrect. I mean, the separation of church and state, as we now understand it, wasn't even a concept until the 14th Amendment was interpreted and it fundamentally changed the relationship between the feds and the states. So before that, states actually had their own state religions. The federal government explicitly did not have a national religion, but this is because of what's called pan-Protestantism. We had all these different Protestant groups in the United States and Catholics, like in Maryland, for example, and they did not consider each other to be equally Christian. It was not like today where we lump all Christian denominations into one. So in order to get the Constitution ratified, the federal government did not put a national religion in the Constitution. They left it up to the states, and they used the 10th Amendment to explicitly allow that. So the claim that America is not a Christian nation because of the Establishment Clause is completely false.
Blasphemy was a crime.
There's currently blasphemy laws on the books.
Indeed, the last Supreme Court ruling, I think it was the 50s. If you went outside in 1790 and said Christ is not king, they could arrest you, criminally charge you, or exile you.
So what about atheism?
wild.
Like, what about people in this country that don't
Again,
believe
you
in
have
God?
to abide by the culture of the nation that you are living in. So that means you have to respect. You can't be out, screaming, that Christ is talking about how Christ is like burning in. Okay, I don't want to get into that.
Well,
You
I'll give you an
abide by
example.
cultural
I'll give you an
norms.
example.
You gotta abide
Yeah.
by legal norms.
You can go to Saudi Arabia, but you cannot insult the prophet.
Yeah.
You will.
Well, yeah, North Korea, obviously you can't take down a poster. We know what happened to Otto Warmbier. I mean,
And the United
there's a lot
States
of
is the most lax and respectful of non-Christian religions. His point is just that as a nation founded under Christian moral ethics,
Yeah.
people who are non-Christians should be deferential to Christian moral ethics.
yeah, I mean,
Maybe back in the day before they spoke English, because like Muslims in the 1700s were like foreign as like now they're our neighbors. So I understand radical ideology. And if someone
it's
says,
not
Jesus Christ, his outfit's ridiculous.
I'm going
Not
to
every
commit this
Muslim
heinous
believes in that
act
stuff.
if I get
But what I'm
past
telling
radical.
you is I
It's
talk to
different.
these. I literally do live streams where I talk to these guys, and I have
talk to these
teenagers.
guys.
I have teenagers that call in. I have middle-aged people that call in.
That is
most
so
of them,
offensive.
80% of them.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Let me tell you a story. You're gonna love this one.
Yeah.
In 2012, I think it might have been, or 2013, YouTube invited me to a special meeting in California to deal with Islamic extremism. They said that one of the problems they had was that, particularly in the UK, but in the United States as well, these accounts were popping up of English-born and English-speaking Muslims trying to radicalize young Muslims to go fight for ISIS. And they were saying it's become such a problem. We see these stories of people in America, the UK, and other countries going to the Middle East to join ISIS. How do we stop it? The issue they found was that the general beliefs of Muslims in the United States, in the West, was one-for-one compatible with ISIS. The lacking issue was a motivation to fight.
Yeah.
These videos were coming out, again, English speakers from the UK with like a British accent saying, are you really, mate, gonna stand by what these people are, blah, blah, blah. We gotta have the caliphate and you know it. And they were like, it's working, and how do we stop it? So a bunch of people were brought in to talk with YouTube on what were potential solutions for stopping Islamic extremism. And I think they were all miserably bad. One of them, like everybody entertained. There was one guy, he was an American Muslim, and he had the only solution, I think. But everybody's solution was like, you need to make videos where you explain to these young Muslims why that's wrong, actually, and you don't want to join the caliphate. And I'm sitting here being like, the problem they've identified is that the religious view of ISIS is one for one with the religious view of the Muslims in these countries. What the problem is that these videos are motivating them to go and fight on behalf of it. The only solution that I respected was a guy who said, you need to make a sitcom where the family is Muslim and they don't do Muslim things. So it's a family that is a regular American family where the dad has a regular job. They say things that sometimes passively reference that they're Muslim, but they don't espouse these values. That way, young Muslims in America integrate with what it means to be American.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's the only one who's right.
I actually think the sitcom's a good idea, but that's kind of beside the point. Tim is 100% correct, and I'll explain why. So Islam, unlike Christianity, features a religious text that is fundamentally different. The Christian Bible contains 66 books written by 40 different authors from all sorts of different cultures and backgrounds over a time period of thousands of years. This is why the moronic leftist talking point that the Bible is full of contradictions doesn't make any sense. It's like grouping works by Chaucer, Shakespeare, and Tolkien into one anthology and pointing out the inconsistencies. But what this does highlight is that the Bible contains many different themes and allows for multiple interpretations. This is why today you see so many different branches of Christianity. But on the other hand, the Quran is a coherent work that reads much more like a direct book. This results in a small number of possible interpretations. Thus, the beliefs of radical extremist Muslim sects are inherently going to be very similar to those held by the more moderate Muslims. There's not a big distinction there. A sizable majority of Muslims will not perform radical terrorist extremist acts. However, ideologically, that doesn't mean they don't support it or believe it's justified. Now, if you look at polling data from different Islamic countries, the numbers are pretty shocking. So depending on which country you look at, you'll see between 4% and up to 40% of these countries believing that radical extremist Islamist actions are justified. 40%! Like, are you kidding me? Could you imagine the United States if the far right, like the KKK or communists on the left, were 40% of the country? The average person just doesn't get it. We don't fundamentally comprehend how pervasive this problem is within the Islamic world, and this makes it nearly impossible for most folks to understand the problem or take it seriously. But of course, Brian and Ian, they don't really care about that. They just want a virtue signal.
There are
But
extremists.
that's not really Muslim then. That's the point. Is like then
he's
it's
basically telling
a
them to-
watered down version of
Well, he was telling
Islam.
to
What about all the
Americanize
Christians that like
Americanize.
aren't really Christian?
Yeah, what about
Yeah,
those
that's the
people?
difference. The difference is one is abiding by their book and the other is not abiding by their book. That's the entire.
But
That's the
I think like
distinction.
98% of Americans aren't really Christian. They don't
Christianity-
espouse the
listen,
virtues.
Well, not,
they,
I would
they say they
no,
do.
culturally, I would say the vast majority of them are. Like they abide by the basic Christian ethics.
What do you mean basic though?
You're
What does that mean? Basic.
I
ethics.
come from the
Yeah,
Christian-
Brian's a Christian.
I don't think Jesus
Things
is
like family
fucking Lord. Like,
values.
what are you talking about? How would anyone even know that?
Everyone in this room is only capable of having this conversation because you all abide by Christian moral ethics.
Morals, yes, but that doesn't mean I'm a
Moral
Christian. I don't identify as a
No,
Christian.
but
I'm not
you
a
are
Christian.
culturally a Christian. That's the point.
I'm culturally.
That's what you have to be.
I'm
at least.
manipulated by Christianity, yes, and I've been born and bred through it. But
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
not
but
a
manipulated.
self-identifying Christian.
What do you mean manipulate?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. My sentiments exactly, Phil. Jesus. God, poor Ian, man. Poor Ian. I was born into it, manipulated by it. I was born into Christianity, molded by it. Like, is he stupid? Like, dude, you're just a typical atheist riding off Christians' coattails. You benefit from living in a Christian society. These folks don't realize it, but the only reason they're able to live as atheists is because they appeal to the benevolence of the Christian moral framework, especially because they don't have a moral framework. It's the same way communists are able to exist in a free society like ours. It's taking advantage. You know, that's all atheists like Ian do. And really, any substitute morality like utilitarianism or Kantianism, they're not robust enough to be used as moral universals. And the same goes for Brian, too. They're just atheists riding off the coattails of Christians. It's literally like that meme of Homer Simpson getting pulled up the mountain by Sherpas. He wakes up and says, "Oh my gosh, I barely felt like I worked and I got all the way up here. Isn't that amazing?" But that's how it goes. Christians built this amazing, flourishing Western society, and they're the societal equivalents of Homer Simpson. Lazy bums getting their fat asses carried while everybody else does the real work.
It's good. You
You
want to?
benefited from it. You
I
benefited.
have, yes. Because
Which
which
would you prefer? Is it better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person
Blackstone's formula
suffer?
comes
Or
from
can I ask
Christianity.
the question?
If
How about
you know my answer?
No, because I didn't finish the question.
Okay, what's your question? I'm in the middle of talking
Okay.
and you want to stop me to ask me a question, bro. I was talking.
3 people are talking.
Right,
You
go.
stopped your sentence. I started talking, and you jumped in front
All right,
of me
now you two
and
start.
answered.
Okay, got it.
I'll ask Brian instead.
Yeah, here we go.
I have a question for you.
I love
Which
it
do
when you guys argue.
Which
I'm
do you
sorry.
prefer? Is it better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer? Or is it better that 10 innocent persons suffer than one guilty person escape?
Well, obviously, define what you mean by escape. What do you mean by escape?
Literal escape, run away, they're gone.
Well, obviously, I don't want anybody to suffer. So obviously, I wouldn't want 10 people to suffer.
So is it better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer? Or 10 innocent persons suffer to prevent one guilty from escaping?
That's a really tough question. I don't know. It's a hard question for me to answer, Tim. I don't know.
Oh, it's so cute. You can see the gears turning up there. Those tiny little gears.
I don't know. You got me speechless here. I don't know how to answer that. It's a very difficult dilemma to be in. If that person escapes, how many people are going to suffer?
Who knows?
That's the question, right?
To Brian's credit, that's actually a decent point. I mean, at a very low level. It's like something that I think my 9-year-old would come up with. But for Brian, that's a pretty big achievement. So, golf clap.
The point is, the Christian moral ethic is it is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. And the founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin particularly, expounded upon this by saying it's better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. And it is of communists and dictators historically, and notably Otto von Bismarck, who said it's better that 10 innocent people suffer than one guilty escape. And so there's a reason why that doesn't work, and there's a reason why the Soviet Union only lasted 69 years. Yeah. And this is a Christian moral ethic founded in Blackstone. It's called Blackstone's formulation, and Blackstone wrote about this. His concept is a summation of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Mm-hmm. If there's but one righteous man, I will not destroy these towns. The founding fathers contemplated this, and again, the Bill of Rights, the laws, they're all founded in Christian moral ethics. The founding fathers talked about it, and they said, it's an interesting point, but you made the point. If 10 guilty persons escape, how many innocent people are going to suffer?
Right.
So you might get substantially more suffering, right? And so Benjamin Franklin and a bunch of smart-ass mugs are like, how about this? Everybody can have guns, okay? And you will take responsibility if these guilty persons come at you.
Yeah.
We will not be the ones to torture innocent people. And the logic was written down, and it's brilliant. A society that tells the innocent you'll be punished regardless is a society that ends up in lawlessness and corruption out of fear that even if you're a good person, they will destroy you. A society that tells people we will do everything in our power to preserve the innocent and your rights, even among those who may be guilty, is a society where individuals seek to be as noble as they can be, knowing that the government will work tirelessly to protect
Do you believe in the separation between church and state?
I don't believe there's such a thing.
Well, I do.
No.
So this is my favorite Brianism. So you can tell that there's kind of a lights are on, but nobody's home sort of look to his face. And that's because he's not actually listening to what Tim's saying. He's waiting for an excuse to jump in and share his opinions. He's not contending with the point at all or anything. He's not sitting there saying, wow, Tim, I guess you're right. A Christian principle did make its way all the way into modern American jurisprudence. Look at that. Maybe I was wrong. But instead, he just says, oh, next opinion up, batter up. You don't believe in a separation of church and state, do you? I mean, here's the thing, too. I already covered this, but there is no real separation of church and state. Now, the 14th Amendment has been interpreted to effectively mean that. However, that was not the intention of the Founding Fathers. America was not designed to be a secular nation. It was a compromise between the new federal government and the states in an effort to get the Constitution ratified. It was one of several compromises to establish a federal government so that we could regulate international trade, have a common currency, and create a national defense. The claim there's a clean and cut separation of church and state is revisionist history, plain and simple.
I don't.
Founding Fathers didn't believe in it.
There's no such thing.
why they
Founding
established-
Fathers also
why they
believed in
established-
owning human beings. So, I mean,
Okay, but wait. If we're
minority.
talking about the founding documents and the principles brought forward,
Yeah.
the separation of church and state was not a thing. And it's not been a thing in literally
No,
any
but I'm
country
asking you
ever.
now.
No, I don't.
Your belief on that. I don't want
I-
policy to be designed by your
There
religion.
is, it is,
Well, it
I will
is
say
whether
this.
you like it or
Depends on the
It is
religion.
not possible to separate government from religion. Religion is moral philosophy and ideology. And if you take out Christian moral ethics, you'll get some other moral ethic guiding your law. I would prefer the Bill of Rights, Blackstone's formulation, which are founded in Christian moral ethics over, say, Chinese communist.
Yeah. Here's my problem. Part of my problem with his argument in that, yes, of course, radical Islam, dangerous. It's all bad. I get all that. Okay. But there are not. Every single Muslim doesn't believe in stoning people. Okay, there are Muslims in this country.
Majority do. Pew Research has
but
done
you don't.
polls.
Okay,
and said
you
the
can
majority
say,
of Muslims.
You can say that the majority
No,
do,
it's
but you're
Pew
not
Research.
saying.
But how many people were polled?
Yeah.
Well, it's Pew Research. Are you?
And Ian there with just a fantastic, how many people were polled? Jesus. So there you have it, guys. There's another all-star showing from Brian Shapiro and Ian Crossland on Timcast IRL. Oh, boy, do I feel dumber for watching that. This clip went exactly as I thought it would. Tim and Benjamin made coherent historical arguments based on legal and religious philosophy, and even threw in some empirical polling data to seal the deal. Meanwhile, Brian and Ian made flimsy arguments born out of historical illiteracy and modern revisionism. But to be honest, this is fairly typical of secularists and atheists. They can't give Christianity any credit it deserves, and instead, like I mentioned earlier, abuse the very freedoms granted to them by Christian benevolence. It's especially apparent when you compare how charitable these types are to Islam. I have nothing against folks who practice Islam, don't get me wrong. But let's call a spade here, guys. It's not MAGA Republicans or American Christians who kill apostates, execute homosexuals, or theologically agree with terrorism. And yet, Christians are treated like dirt by the very people they've helped lift up. Ironic, isn't it? Anyways, guys, go check out the full video at Timcast IRL. I linked it down below. Go check it out. And listen, if you like my commentary, please give me a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.